kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
We're taking a closer look at the case of Ruby Franke, the YouTuber mom now accused of child abuse. For the first time, we're hearing the chilling 911 call and emergency radio communications after Frankie's son escaped from her business partner's home and was found emaciated with open wounds.
He asked us to call the police. So he's very afraid.
That 911 call came in just before 11 a.m. on August 30th. A neighbor in Ivins, Utah, a remote area about 4 hours south of Salt Lake City, reported a 12-year-old boy showed up at his house asking for help.
911, the address of your emergency. Tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help.
The caller then references problems at the neighbor's home before explaining the boy arrived looking emaciated with duct tape around his wrists and ankles.
We know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty.
Officials later determined the boy's mother is Ruby Franke, the YouTuber behind the 8 Passengers channel. Once boasting more than 2 million subscribers, the channel is now defunct after being terminated.
My gosh, you guys, having kids is so much fun.
On her YouTube channel, Frankie documented the lives of her 6 children and husband, Kevin, recording videos about everything from home renovations to back-to-school shopping. But Frankie's strict mothering tactics came under fire long before her arrest.
And my kids are literally starving. I hesitate to say this because it's going to sound like I'm like a mean barbarian, but I told the kids, I said, I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get your chores done.
In the past, Frankie had addressed critics, saying she wouldn't stop mothering her way.
Online who hate me, who would like to cancel me, who would like to see me either burn in hell, as I have told, or disappear off the face of the earth. And I'm not going anywhere.
But it was Frankie's own son who requested 911 be called.
He asked us to call the police. So he's very afraid. This kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds. We need the cops here as soon as possible.
First responder radio communications captured the moments after this 911 call came into dispatch.
Ruby said a 12-year-old male showed up with tape around his legs, thirsty, asking for help, said he was afraid, asking for police. Deborah, he gave the name of Russell Frankie, unknown date of birth, or he did give us a date of birth, but I'm not showing any Russells and Spillman. I'll keep looking into that. The RP said he left through the porch of the neighbor's house.
First responders can then be heard discussing the boy's wounds, saying he has sores all over his body.
Does have duct tape around each ankle. He's not telling the RP why, and said that there's sores around his wrists and ankles. He's becoming, or correction, the RP is becoming emotional.
Then, for the first time, Ruby Franke is mentioned by name.
I'm sorry, the RP said that he left from a neighbor's Jodi Hildebrandt in Ivins, 54-year-old female. Not sure if they're related. When asking the RP's parents info, he said his mom is Ruby Franke, unknown where she lives.
First responders also mentioned Jodi Hildebrandt, whose home Frankie's son escaped from. Frankie and Hildebrandt have a past relationship, collaborating on parenting videos.
Do you have an address for that, Jodi?
Tampa 8.
Anytime you think I want, fill in the blank, I don't care what it is, that is not love. Mm-hmm. Love is a gift that you offer because you have generated it inside yourself. And how do you generate love? Well, the only way to generate love is you use your agency to choose principles of truth.
First responders then mention the boy's siblings, who are still back at the home.
He's also saying that there's 2 of his sisters are back at the home as well.
Officials say when they arrived to the scene, investigators went to a nearby home, finding other children in similar conditions. In all, 4 children were eventually taken to the Department of Child and Family Services.
10-4 ETA, 3 minutes, medical's in front of me.
Recordings capture officials arriving to the scene when they see the 12-year-old boy's condition firsthand.
Hey, 314, the wounds on his leg are pretty good. 12X511, 314, medical's going to transport him, said that his wounds are in need of immediate care.
Next, there's some confusion as first responders ask for a Rose Frankie rather than Ruby Franke.
Confirming Rose Frankie.
But officials quickly realize it's Ruby Franke that they're looking for.
I don't have any Rose Frankies coming back in Stillman or in Utah. I did find a Ruby Franke, which I sent to 12X11, showing an address out of Springville. However, only involvement is a traffic offense a couple days ago.
Additional first responders again comment on the boy's condition.
12X11, 314 as well. The child looks very emaciated.
Officials then discuss the next steps, deciding the boy needs medical care.
Or you want medical to hold off to transport to the hospital?
We need to get some photographs first.
10-4, we're going to have him hold here.
Yeah, if he's alert and breathing, just hang out and wait for us, please.
According to a press release, the boy's condition was, quote, so severe that they were seen by the Santa Clara Ivans EMS and transported to a local hospital. Eventually, the conversation comes back to Frankie and Hildebrandt over the radio.
After doing a little digging, it looks like that 27 I sent you for Ruby Frankie is going to be the one that is associated with the Jodi Hildebrandt. They're both showing as therapists from Salt Lake and associated through social media as well.
Control 12X11, does she have an address in Springville?
Yeah, 10-4, she's showing up in Salt Lake per her Facebook. Her and Jodi both are therapists showing addresses up or locations for their work up in Salt Lake as well.
Copy, yeah. 10-4, that's going to be the mom. What's the address for that Jodi Hildebrandt?
Sorry, which address for Jodi?
Do you have an address for her in Kansas?
Yeah, 10-4, she's just a few streets up showing the address of.
At this point, first responders search Hildebrandt's home.
7 key, hold there, we're searching the house.
Both Frankie and Hildebrandt were arrested on August 30th and charged with 2 counts of aggravated child abuse. Those charges have since been upgraded, and now they each face 6 counts of aggravated child abuse. If convicted, that means they could spend 15 years in prison and owe a $10,000 fine. Right now, both are being held in the Washington County Jail. Reporting for Law&Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.